thrown on the dole without an income. That means the entire construction industry going nowhere.
It just reached a crescendo today when employers said, we just can't take it anymore.
Workers for 3 months from Saturday. 300 employers agreed at a meeting convened by the Master Builders Association that negotiations had failed despite hearings before the Industrial Relations Commission and talks brokered by the state government. Employers say their members have had enough of union standover tactics, while unions are predicting the lockout will be a dismal failure because they say most of the major construction companies will not support it when it comes to the crunch. Jeff Hutchison reports on the deepening crisis in the Victorian building industry.
It just reached a crescendo today when employers said, we just can't take it anymore.
If they were effective in this outrageous activity, that means between 35 to 40,000 Victorian families thrown on the dole without an income. That means the entire construction industry going nowhere, and it also means Brian Welsh's worst dreams of investment departing the state become a reality.
Months of simmering tension in the building industry came to a head today when more than 300 builders and contractors voted to shut down building sites across Victoria for 3 months, in a move the Master Builders Association claims represents the last weapon in its fight against a union campaign for a 36-hour week and pay rises of 24%.
They're being pressed to a point where their businesses are at risk, their livelihood, their families are at risk, and they just can't tolerate that anymore.
We are as frustrated as every builder and as the MBA and the CPF are about the progress of negotiations. I mean, what we have here is a situation where unions are making outlandish demands for a 36-hour week and a 24% pay claim, something that will disadvantage this state to the tune of some 10 or 15% compared with New South Wales. So what I'm seeing is an evaporation of investment in Victoria.
And I don't really want to talk to those arseholes, to be quite honest.
While the MBA and its industry supporters were explaining their unprecedented action today, a crowd of about 200 electricians and plumbers who'd been meeting up the street decided to respond to the lockdown by conducting a lock-in.
Why can't you require the assistance of the union to disperse their members?
You don't realise there's 500 or 600 people there and it comes storming and smashing glasses, and we're going to get injured, you're going to get injured, the media are going to get injured.
It's happened before, and I dare say it'll happen again. But their attack on this building and the people who work in it is a pretty silly thing, really.
Actions like this from the NBA are only going to make us fight even harder. So, in terms of...
What about your members? Do they have the discipline to put up with a struggle that might last 3 months?
Absolutely. Our members are committed to that, and we thoroughly predicted last year that this campaign would go for months. Achieving shorter working hours isn't a campaign, it's an instant coffee campaign. It's a long campaign, it's something so worthwhile and so important that it's going to be some time when it's delivered.
What is so profoundly disastrous by a 36-hour working week?
The cost differential between ourselves and competitor states would be exporting jobs to New South Wales and Queensland. The very people who are being affected by this dispute, the employers and the employees, would be disadvantaged sorely by that. That's for the cost of it. We'd be out of step with the rest of Australia. It doesn't make sense.
If that is the cost of a 36-hour week, at what cost the protest action against it? Building industry estimates suggest the lockdown could cost Victoria $23 million a day and will affect $2.5 billion of construction projects.
I heard him quoted on 3AW as saying that he would shut the industry down until May of this year. So I'd ask the question of you, well, who do you think is the economic vandal in this equation?
It certainly is the MBA trying to escalate things. You will have noticed that a number of the larger companies like Multiplex, Balderstones and so on, Grollos are negotiating directly with the unions. And from the MBA point of view, if the larger companies in the industry actually reach an agreement, then it's only a question of time before the middle and the smaller people follow.
And late this afternoon, a spokesman for Grocon, one of Australia's largest building construction companies, said it would not lock out its workers, and it already had individual enterprise bargaining agreements on all of its sites. Industry sources have told the 7:30 report they believe less than 50% of sites will shut down.
And the consequence of this, Mr. Speaker, is that we've already seen projects in Victoria lost, abandoned or deferred.
But in federal parliament, Workplace Relations Minister Peter Reith was blaming the Victorian government for the industrial tension.
It has been a particular problem since the election of a state Labor government who've not been prepared to stand up to the unions.
I suspect it probably still is close to settlement. These things are amber claims. They come at the last moment to focus attention. My understanding is it's very, very close to a resolution, and that's positive.
And it's just too dangerous for us.
The lock-in lasted just over an hour today, but because of the upcoming long weekend, it won't be until Wednesday before there are any real indications of the extent of Victoria's building industry lockdown.
And in the meantime, who do you believe? Jeff Hutchison with that report.
Building employees announced an unprecedented 3-month lockout of